Hello. There we go. That's better. Check that everything's working. Okay. It's fine. It's working. Okay. So, something that I started listening to an audiobook of a Sherlock Holmes novel. And I realised that what's his face? Tobias Gregson is an actual character. And I also remembered that the character I was thinking of last time was Athelney Jones. There we go. The other Scotland Yard. I wonder if there will be any other Scotland Yarders in these games. Let's see how far I can get before I'm hungry. Yeah. Okay. Oh, right, yeah. Oh my god, we had these, like, just random-ass characters all of a sudden. Okay. I do hope you're not injured. Let's read the context there. I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fairies. No. He has the same theme as McGill did. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle. Thank you. What was that all about? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here, in the Garrett residence? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. What the hell is this? Why? Why? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode. Mr. Garrett had mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. You happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes. A gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist in my battle of words, ne'er could there be. Sorry, battle did you say? Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night. I see. I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least. So, fair maiden, so good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well. I can't, dude. Why is there an absurd Shutakumi character here? I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room. Seems he's unaware of what happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Soseki-san and that man as lodgers, the Garrett house is certainly full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go find a carriage.
Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return.
Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Okay, so it's funneling me down this. It didn't let me move about, did it?
Oh, it's you. You're here. You came. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched. We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh, no. Think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with the pleasure of the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never failing, Nipponese.
Oh, now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand... Oh. For some reason I thought that the prosecutor would be here, just as a... There's always a scene where there's the prosecutor outside of the... Like, you know, where you find out what's the prosecutor like when he's not behind the bench, sort of thing. Oh, I quite agree. There is nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand, it is though friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least.
It's you. The miserable rotten spy. Aleks Sholmes!
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here?
It's almost like Takumi knew that this defendant is slightly annoying, and to make the scene interesting, he put the easy peasy, this is a fun scene character in her.
What are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything per se, save observing, of course.
Whatever you do, you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring.
Gloomful room?
At least your accommodation offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight, and cost me not a penny.
Oh, you! How dare you! Aleks Sholmes! I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. And my whole life is bedamned. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And there is much truth in Mr. Moustache's words. What? Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. The man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial.
What's that supposed to mean?
Okay, it is letting me go everywhere.
Oh my god. Have I missed one?
want the achievement. Please don't tell me I've missed one. I'm gonna look up if... No! I missed it. I had to do it just like the violin. Examine it before. I talked about Wilson. Oh, no. See what it is.
Ah, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas.
Black Peter? What does that mean? Oh, I did! Oh, I did it properly. I did it properly. Yes. Yes. What does that mean?
Oh, how intriguing. It must be the title of Iris's latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us.
Susato-san looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most grisly crime you could imagine.
It's a case that Hurley just solved just recently. A black cat called Peter, and it went missing in the neighbourhood. Hurley tracked it down at the fishmonger's in the end. Well, I can't wait for the story to be published.
Okay. I'm very lucky that I managed to check that. That has saved me about 20 minutes of replaying this whole chapter. Ah, thank you. Oh. Great, he's got a new conversation.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Neru Hollow. But I'm afraid it's supper time now. I'll have to ask you to leave.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
If we linger too long, Mrs. Garrett will start pouring tea again.
No one wants that. Alright, shall we go then? No doubt Soseki-san is beside himself in his cell, waiting for us to return. I can't afford to spend any longer making up my mind. Right then. Mr. Natsume, would you take this and...
Oh, the joy, the sheer joy of a gift from my fellow countrymen. The complete kindness of Keith and Kin. Keith, Kin, I don't know.
Also, that's not real alliteration. Is it like reverse rhyming or something? I don't fucking know anything about whatever the fuck. Oh no, sorry. I just wanted to show you.
The complete cruelty of Keith and Kin.
Oops. We found this receipt in your room, Mr. Natsume.
That's right. I went out to buy some new old books.
New, old. Nice. Isn't that a contradiction in terms? And it was on your way back to your room that you saw the woman being stabbed?
She's dead, I thought to myself. She's dead. My mind went completely blank. But before I knew it, I was back in my room, trembling like a leaf.
The bookworm hoping to worm his way out of a bad situation?
Mr. Naruhodo, please do be careful not to think such disparaging thoughts.
How could you possibly know? Okay. How could this possibly be relevant, other than the time, the name, and the number of 2 shillings? Are we gonna have money come into this again somehow? So like that's 20 quid, right? 2 shillings. I think that's right. So 4p was £1.50. Times that by 3, you get £4.50. Oh, it's like 10 quid. Mr. Nasume, what do you mean by what you said just now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed?
Oh no! Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, I see. That's really agitated him.
You don't mean the trial really is cursed somehow?
Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey?
The Reaper? Oh no! What do you mean? Please, tell me, summarise it succinctly in 16 salient words.
No defendant has ever survived the trial in... Is this actually 16 words? No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper... No defendant has ever survived a trial in which... Oh my god, I just can't count. No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution ever. Yeah. Maybe in the Japanese version this was supposed to be a haiku. 16 words. You did mention haikus at the start. I feel like there's some lost in translation thus with him.
Oh my goodness! Can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly!
Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances. Mr. McGill did.
What?
Ah, I'm impressed, Miss Sato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us... Mr. Sholmes, surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zykes killed the man himself.
Oh no! He couldn't have, surely.
Ah! You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow.
Oh, yes. Why, of course he is. Oh, of course he is. Then why are you trying to scare me?
It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What on earth do you mean by that? Van Zykes is a quite exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning in every case without exception.
Oh, that's good.
So Seki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. In an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion, in particular, is somewhat easily manipulated. Right.
Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling impostors as witnesses, and so on. By such underhanded means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury. Which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail.
But it means that the wrong verdict can be passed.
And sadly, from time to time, my dear madam, it is simply the reality of the situation.
And that's all right.
However, those indicted by Lord Van Zykes cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed.
Oh my!
Though the adjudication may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months they all disappear. It's most striking.
Disappear? But how?
By all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever, or perhaps attacked by highwaymen.
Oh, no.
All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo.
I knew it. A dead Dodo done for, doomed. When you said the cursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Gareth's house, I assume. Do you mean to say you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I'd only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. That didn't take long then. Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. Oh, I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside.
Oh well, this is slightly sadder than unexpected.
They were always staring at me, all the time, from dusk till dawn. So I shut myself away in my room. But even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away. You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road, a week ago now. Yes, why did you choose that? It seems a little inconvenient. The rent is cheap. I have so little money, it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops. He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it, but if not, don't mention it in the first place."
Yes, well said.
But it was true. It was all true.
You mean the room really is cursed then?
Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I wake feeling as though I've been choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. I'm branded as a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really no one at all.
To believe, yes, to believe. Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you?
It's about the case on the SS Burya, if you can recall.
The Burya. Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story, and you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe in me? I see, yes, you mean. Because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow, found with the victim in a locked room. Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in.
What? What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion. Meaning, whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It's a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself.
Yes, he's right. He's right. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Whether or not I can believe in myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as the faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You were so right, Casimir. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe.
Already?
Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me?
Oh dear, there is never enough time, is there?
Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. As I said, I only experienced the British court.
Oh, as I said, I only experienced the British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I represented was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial.
Something crucial?
Yeah, I am starting to think that maybe Mr. McGilded was innocent. And that he just chose to forge evidence because he felt like it. And didn't trust the system. Because there still was the issue with the gloves, right? And it's possible that there's just something we overlooked. But I don't know. What motive did Mr. McGilded have? Oh, the guy owed him a few guineas. Well, what's killing him gonna do, you know?
Something crucial.
What to believe in? The defendant, justice, or the truth? How to believe, even? But I think I finally worked it out. I decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo.
And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime, and it's imperative that we prove that in court.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end. with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow.
As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue.
Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Miss Susato.
Yes?
Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court?
No. Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant.
The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind. But it's time to stop looking backwards. Kazuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time that I learn to believe in myself. So Seki-san has no one, he's all alone. So it's my job to help him, to fight his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster.
There we go.
Da, 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 da.
Twentieth of Feb.
Well, I never expected this. You'd have thought that we'd be back here again so soon.
We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning this country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning.
Ah, Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain.
Yes, I've heard that expression.
But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early. I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Oh, they actually made his eyes look bloodshot. There has been a lot of effort in the modelling for this game, and the art.
Do all literary people take things so literally?
Dude, somebody using the word literally correctly. Oh my god.
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble.
Really? As I can feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes.
I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
The victim's probably somebody important. Huh. Retired at 46? Well, I guess he's an army veteran, I guess. I hope he takes the stand, it would be so fun. Wait, what does it say about fish and chips? Is this his personal theme?
I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Susato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it?
Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it?
Lord Van Zykes? Is that right, Miss Susato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zykes is on the front page of everyone.
I knew it!
Some time after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, until the day before yesterday.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he?
The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zykes' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus.
Trial of Magnus McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realised, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they're all speculating various answers. Mundane is the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you!
Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper.
Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers.
I'm afraid that there is really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that.
Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive.
Well, let's not forget. It was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you.
Yes.
Oh, yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I'll believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquirus. Mikotoba Esquirus. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. Court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once.
Alright, Bob. Alright then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go.
Yes!
This is it, my second appearance in the British courtroom. My second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. If I can do this now, I'm ready for this fight. Wow, it's 6 different jurors.
Here. Santa. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels and the prosecution and the defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was, too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and in his unfortunate violent end.
Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? Oh, I'm a banker. You never know when you might be down on your own luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone.
Oh, well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. Oh, I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that that mustached foreigner did the deed.
Oh, come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway.
Oh, sorry.
How did I know you would start with A?
Oh, sorry. Didn't quite catch that.
Is it always just going to be an old person in number 6?
Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zykes.
Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Plunging a knife in the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street.
No, a knife crime. I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at that shallow complexion and short stature.
No.
He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, didn't quite catch that.
Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand.
Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please.
Yay! Your name and occupation, please.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard.
Would you please summarise the events of the case for the court, Inspector?
The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since.
What? So they don't even know who she is for sure?
Comatose, I see, but her life is not in danger.
Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector.
Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles.
He said wide. These days that would be the narrowest road ever. That just barely fits a little Ford down it.
It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated at one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please.
What of the weapon that was used? A. Stab her into the back. East side, yeah. Rolly beat. He's surely going to be up here eventually. Victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. So it could be wrong. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury. Not even like a bruise from falling to the ground. The assailant was seen running away by reporting officer. Yeah. What of the weapon that was used?
Sir, I have it here. It was removed from the victim's back.
Ouch! That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. It's not a throwing knife, though.
Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript.
He has no garden. But that's not relevant.
Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume?
Nothing special about the handle. The point's missing. Ah, so the divot in the top of the knife is what you use to open it. Let's see.
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip, a small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Miss Usato.
I wonder what could have happened to it.
Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you?
Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful.
The blade is clean. Why is the blade clean? Because the blood on it would have been helpful. It means that it would be hard to stab, but easy to slash if it was off in the first place.
From what we can tell while looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim? Oh, I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, didn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes! Yes!
If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the poor woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Objection! Huh. Smashing more stuff. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student.
Yes, sir. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred.
He's brought his fish and fucking chips to court. That's fantastic.
And there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blow, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, Taken immediately after the incident.
Does he have an A or an R?
Taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take the photograph print as evidence, please, Inspector.
Crime scene photograph. The number of books is an oddity, I think. Q-Nippies are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. 3 books. And purse pouch. Three books, okay. Sure, that lines up. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well,
Forgive me, Lord Van Zykes, but the defendant is not denying everything as you put it.
What are you doing, Mr. Sato?
Do go on.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now you mention it, when we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened.
As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out a sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed on the whole cold, hard slab of stone at my feet. I was terrified, and I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my
green overcoat.
My accursed lodgings.
A green overcoat.
Well, that's exactly what... Having to do a new set of jury voices each time is kind of annoying and hard.
Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print is wearing.
Oh my, a photographic print in full colour. What will the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. The fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. Seems this cross-examination could be proved to be pivotal. Counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance.
As I'll say.
Light fog. No one around other than the witness. And there were hiding spots. Right, if he was guilty, why would he scatter his belongings? And how did he do it while carrying the books?
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you are unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid
that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed. Yes, they're sure to find him guilty. So one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony.
Hold it! Hold it! A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. I'm going to try turning down a bit. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course.
I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint.
Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticise, as I expect you can appreciate.
I see.
At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling.
Ugh, Susato-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. Fact, no doubt, lamented by the accused.
Hold it! Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
That is correct, ma'am.
Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of the winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen... I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas street lamps. But it's the bobbies themselves that light them. This might be important. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime.
Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind had completely conquered the darkness.
Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defence is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector.
Hold it!
From behind, you say?
That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition, comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she's been treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come round before the trial started, so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events.
Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Ugh.
Hold it! Mr. Natsume's belongings. I think you'll find that it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene.
One of them's in front of her. I don't know if that's relevant.
Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course.
The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. I can't believe we didn't have the foresight to ask the defendant how he was holding the books.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with the books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? Oh yeah, that must be what happened, my lord, yes. I've been a number of old books he just bought.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, so I understand. Shop full of old English literature.
I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention.
The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'd have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid.
Okay.
The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is in this place, Bourbon Books.
Objection!
A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in his lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it don't take a genius to work out the route by which he'd have taken home. Something like this. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favour?
What?
Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance.
Maybe.
Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes, it could be a very important clue.
Very well, not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say.
Could the man be any more sardonic? Never even heard that word.
He was on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronises.
Hold it! So the shop is called Bourbon Books, is it?
That's right. It's the closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings. And to get from there back to his room, he would have gone right past the very spot where the incident took place.
If I could just confirm one point,
Can we be sure that the defendants really did visit Bourbon Books on the day in question?
Well, we haven't actually confirmed it, no.
You haven't confirmed it? Why the devil not, Inspector?
Well, the thing is, the shopkeeper's gone on a trip, you see. Left the morning after the incident. Collect more stock, I'm told. So we, haven't been able to ask the bloke if the accused visited his bookshop on the day in question or not.
Well, in that case, what did the defendant himself have to say about it? No recollection. No recollection. What? According to the statement he made at the time, the accused has no recollection of where he'd been. Of course he doesn't.
The bloke clearly had his head in the clouds whenever he's walking about town. He claims just to have wandered into whatever bookshop he happens to be passing, and rarely notices the name. I should say that the man ought to learn to look where he's going, at the very least.
So, it's just as I thought then. Is something the matter? Inspector, you may continue with your testimony. Hold it! You asked for the help of the famous detective, Herlock Sholmes, to locate the defendant, I believe. Let me see if I have any... No, there's no reason for me to mess about with the pressing and see what the other two statements are. I mean, I could do, but it's a bit... It'll take ages, wouldn't it? I might do it anyway.
Stuff and nonsense.
Sorry?
That Jack in office, that busybody, just comes and sticks his oar in whenever we ask him, whether we ask him or not.
But according to what I have here, Mr. Sholmes was shown to the scene by Scotland Yard detectives.
Well, that was nothing to do with me. The lads at the scene must have done it, without my permission. Ugh! I tell them time and time again, when something happens, send word to headquarters. Then follow your blooming instructions.
I see.
That meddler gets his hand on any details, we'll all be reading it in Rant's magazine next month. And you can bet your last farthing I'll be in there too, stripped of all my hard work on the case. Yes, Mr. Sholmes. No, Mr. Sholmes. Aren't you clever, Mr. Sholmes? That's all the thanks I'll be getting. That's all the thanks I'll be getting.
Inspector, if the man is proving detrimental to the Yard's activities, perhaps I should step in and deal with him.
Ah!
It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words. Yes, the Reaper's words carry a lot of weight, obviously.
Anyway, the point is this. That little Japanese bloke's already admitted it. He admitted that those books all over the pavement at the scene were the ones he bought that day.
Fine, I'll do the thing.
Hold it!
Oh. Doesn't let me choose anymore. Oh well.
Objection! Take that! Objection!
Objection!
Objection! If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson.
What is it, sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know.
This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident, details the purchase of 3 second-hand books.
And you found that in the accused room, did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. The receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your books? Y-O-R-E, I presume?
Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books.
Hey, what? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. Just that, well, it's such a small place. I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Objection. Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Objection. I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all.
Oh, could that be true?
Oh, my, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said?
Absolutely. It absolutely could be right.
Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street going east.
And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. Grr, you put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you.
I, didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we are. Here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed.
Now the timing, maybe?
Yes, thank you, Inspector.
Ugh. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ugh!
As I suspected, you can't.
Her voice has changed like 20 times, holy shit.
Oh, as I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon, terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't give up.
What? What do you mean?
The prosecution's assertion is correct. The members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
Ah, she's absolutely right.
We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but... the assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed.
Explain yourself, Counselor.
Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Objection! Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. Ah! On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
Objection! But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection.
That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home.
I don't believe this. That was kind of pointless anyway, right? Because, I mean, he did drop his books and said that he saw the silhouette ahead of him. But... maybe there is something to this. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still...
Oh, I agree with Lord Van Zykes. Wholeheartedly and in every way.
What? I don't believe it. Does this mean...
We members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
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 Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty!
Guilty.
Oh yeah, airy voice.
Guilty!
Really? We're already going to have to do the summation examination.
It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo.
No, not
Not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of a quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defence written into an antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defence's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses.
Very well, Counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Oh, of course we're ready.
I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper on his onkus refusal to throw his alley. Very well, then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Oh, for pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
It'd be nice if I could hear their guilty voices again, just to be sure.
If he said that a woman in grain collapsed before his eyes, why, it could only have been the victim. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. Not in winter. Not in winter.
Airy voice, airy voice.
Oh, so the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Law books, yes, nice shop that. But Paul got Bourbon books. No, not worth a visit.
This jury is more incompetent than the last.
With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear.
When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink into the ground before his eyes.
Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear, even the judge appears to be convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now.
Ugh, why did he have to run away like that? How are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense?
Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue...
Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, for four of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor, Counsel. Begin your summation examination.
Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. Alright then. Defense's rebuttal.
It sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective.
Agree, it's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something.
We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly.
Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again carefully. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other.
Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other.
What did the two at the end say? Because he's mentioned the irrelevant ones. Okay, let's do some pressing.
He's the only one who I actually have a working voice for.
Hold it! Excuse me, but aren't you...
Oh, yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago.
Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you?
Oh, that's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London for work.
And now you no longer owe 20 guineas to a dead man.
Oh, and it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute.
Sorry?
Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals.
Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge.
Now there's all sorts of rumours buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop.
If I could turn back the clock...
Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. And free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't.
Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history.
Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Hold it! You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. But Tobias Gregson also wears a green overcoat.
Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green is the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing moustache is the culprit.
But let's not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
No, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime.
Ugh.
If no one else could have done it, then the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you are too kind, my lord.
That went well for her. Hold it! But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books.
Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Cabalash Road or something? Something?
Precisely.
But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not.
Well, yes, that's true.
And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there?
Well, yes, that's true as well.
And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he?
Well, yes, that's annoyingly true.
Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible.
Well, yes. Why is this all true?
So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road.
I'm supposed to be convincing you here.
I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim like that he did it. I mean, there was some logical reason why he could have gone the Cabalash roadway. It'd be different. I'll be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would.
The reason why Soseki-san might have taken the long way home.
Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Why did he take the Cabalash roadway? Maybe all I can think of is, if he went Briar Roadway, he'd pass by Bourbon Books. Maybe there's some, like, really stupid argument that you could stir up with that. Like, if he went that way, why wouldn't he just go in Bourbon Books rather than in that other bookshop, Your Books? Right? If he's going to pass it anyway, why not visit it? Right? That's all I can think of.
Oh, airy voice. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
Hold it!
Whatever is the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garrett, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room.
The master's wife? Where'd you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand?
He's keeping up that charade. Ugh, this is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean.
Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. I was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice.
I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now.
And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this?
Oh my goodness me, yes. He's just the sort.
What?
Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous moustache. A man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbours are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something.
Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more.
Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I'd better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already.
I really don't care. Can we wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing.
Hold it! A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes.
Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a labourer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids.
Oh, I see. That must be very hard.
I go to the union every morning to find out what Sneed's doing. If you're late, then the work's taken. It's tough.
This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right and centre. They're after cheap labour to get the roads dug up and fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is.
So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you?
That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was.
Oh my god, you are my saviour. What? Another coincidence?
That's right. Meerschaum Street, was it?
Actually wrecked. Actually wrecked. He was working here, so the defendant went this way. Actually wrecked.
Meerschaum Street it was.
Meerschaum Street? On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statements, please.
What's the point in that? Can't we get this business over with now?
Please, sir, it's important.
Fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging at Meerschaum Street from dawn till dusk.
Hold it! So if I understand correctly, you're a day labourer and you were doing road maintenance that day.
That's right, like I said, you get a lot of burst gas and water pipes underground in the middle of winter. And it's the only time of year fellows like me can actually make a few bob. And I'm missing out today.
And when you say from dawn till dusk?
Well, the work has to be completed within the day, see? No coaches or pedestrians can pass while it's happening.
I wonder if I could trouble you, sir, to mark on this street map the exact location of the works you were carrying out.
Give it here then. Let me have a look. Right, let's see then. Here we are, Meerschaum Street. Yes, it was just here, like. It was a tidy dig, I can tell you. We had to get through all the drifts of snow that had frozen solid.
And at what sort of time did you finish the work? I love how he's literally a witness, but he's also a juror. We're literally cross-examining him.
Well, we started in the morning, we can't have finished before gone 6, I'd say. The snow had stopped coming down, but it was long past dark for sure.
That means the road work was still going on when Miss Green was attacked around 5 o'clock. Roadworks on Meerschaum Street, huh?
Oh, me old man. Your books, yes, that's a nice shop, that. But Bourbon books? No, not worth a visit.
Hold it! Hold it!
Sorry, hold it, you say? For what?
No. What I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask you was, do you visit your books often?
I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including all the day you were talking about.
And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you were talking about.
Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time?
Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget the day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Cabalash Road, and I slipped on the ice and donked me head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery.
Whoa, my god, that's insane. I literally just noticed his coat. It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
Knocked myself clean out, I did. Really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute, let me get this straight. This happened on Cabalash Road.
That's right.
I live in Cornpipe, you see?
Heading down Cabalash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Sorry. Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now.
It's Senza. Well, we've won. Dun 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 dun. Hold it! And that was at around 5 o'clock, you say? The same time the victim was attacked.
I don't know anything about the girl who was stabbed, but my dinner's on the table at the same time every day.
And for the record, could you please identify the precise location of your fall?
Goodness, it was eons ago now. I'm not sure I can remember.
It was 3 days ago. Try dredging your memory, please.
Well, let me see. It was especially slippery around about... yes, I remember now. It was just on the corner here.
What's happened to you then? Were you alright?
Well, you don't get too many people down Cabalash Road, you see. So there was no one around when I fell. No one around when I knocked myself out. No one around when I came to again. No one around when I sneezed. So I picked myself up and went back to my nice warm house where my grandchildren were waiting for me. A sad and lonely picture you paint, sir. You were fortunate to not have frozen to death.
Yes, how lucky that he wasn't more seriously injured. True, it sounds like it was a very lenient at the hospital admission, or worse. Yes, one more thing. Were you wearing that same green overcoat on the day in question?
Absolutely. It's the only coat I have. Took until this morning to try it out properly. Good job too, or I'd have had nothing to wear here. So count your blessings, say.
I suppose we should. This gentleman certainly had a close shave there. I'm going to do that one last because it's more intense. Objection! Objection! Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another.
At odds, Counsel? Explain yourself.
Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
Hey, what? I just want to get this done and dusted.
Well, juror number 3.
Oh, me, sir? What? What do you mean?
Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. I love the walking back and forth. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road.
Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way.
So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, but we see now that he had no choice.
Yes.
My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may.
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so that we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir?
Who, me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It's strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. And Sykes is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Why do I have to remain silent through this joke of a summation examination?
Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord. You've changed two of the jurors' minds, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, just 2 more to go. Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here. Wish I knew how to do a Susato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Bum 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 bum.
Hold it!
I just want to see if there's extra dialogue now that we've done the thing. She's the one with the problem, so I'll do her last. Actually, no, I won't. Actually, yes, I will.
Hold it!
I just realised that Ryunosuke does the Godo slam, the best slam. Okay. Oops. Well, I want to see if he has something to say.
Hold it!
Blam blam blam. I was reading the extras. The guy, I can't remember his name, the sound engineer, he changed that sound from the normal one because it gets used a lot.
Hold it!
Hold it! We need to explain how the books got where they were. Maybe have the books brought in as evidence? Objection!
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 Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the jurors' reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, Counsellor?
Well, juror number 2, juror number 6.
My, whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you.
Believable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. Then he returned home on foot.
But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey.
That's correct. What he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes.
Yes, we are well aware of this. The poor young woman was stabbed, obviously.
Objection! Can we really be sure of that, madam?
Why? Whatever do you mean?
I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighbourhood.
Oh my! My goodness, you mean?
That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6.
Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench here with me today?
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim.
Well, look at that!
My goodness me!
Sorry, you need a pee?
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell.
On Calabash Road.
Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means that the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road, where the woman was stabbed, was not on his way home.
Oh my!
You idiot, old man. If you hadn't been so daft to be roaming about there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago.
Right then.
You idiot, old man, if you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we would have boxed this off hours ago.
Oh, really? What were you thinking, wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice?
Ow, sorry.
Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat? Is it?
My lord, I do hope it doesn't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Yeah, I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty.
Thank you.
And I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well...
What the hell? The old man is nowhere near as nice as the old lady that we had. It would be funny if they were husband and wife. Wait. Oh no, he's not wearing a jumper. If he was wearing a jumper, it would have been absolutely perfect. Woolly jumper.
Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The eyes 2, the nose 4. The eyes to the right 2. The nose to the left 4. So the nose have it. The nose have it.
Gotta love some cheeky reference to the houses of. No, this is the House of Commons, right? Because in the House of Lords, they'd say,
Not content and content. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
objection. Huh. Objection. Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection, only to crush it in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zykes! It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? Are you going to call the jury dumb again? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Aye?
Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
Objection! I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you have excavated, sir.
That's right. Took me the old day, and they paid me a measly 2pence for it.
Legit, a 2pence for a day's work. Honestly, what the fuck? Ouch. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Well, he has no comment about that, Mr. Van Zykes. I hope you enjoy your massive, I don't know. What would a salary be? Maybe like £25 a year or something? Nah, probably more than that. I don't know. My learned Nipponese friend, tell me. No, wait. Those guys were borrowing like £21, so his salary must be like a lot. Like £500 a year. Because isn't the house like £200? Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no.
2 yards is a little less than 2 meters.
The French had exported SI to Japan at this time? Okay.
A little less than 2 meters.
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words,
a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigour.
That's a poor excuse, Van Dykes.
Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Hey, me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? Hey, I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time.
Although these days that would be very unusual for them not to.
No coaches would have had an overpassing anyway, and we could just turn any gentlefolk back when they came. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Oh, is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene There can be no doubt that he was on his way back to his lodgings. Mr. Natsume, there can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Ugh, crushed in a single sentence. And old man. Old man. Old man? Newton talk? You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Ugh!
Oh dear, oh dear. Lord Van Dykes, explain yourself.
My lord,
If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination?
I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. Ugh. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel.
Take off the cloak.
So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What? What are you talking about? My lord. The prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand.
Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
Its next witnesses.
Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We have been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident.
Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less.
I think I'm gonna end it here. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm gonna end it here. Right then, that was a decent stream. Let me click the end stream button. Stop streaming.